Good morning, everyone. Buen domingo a todos. The gospel today from St. Mark, as we've been reading for the last few weeks, is a fairly dramatic one, porque en el evangelio de hoy hay mucho movimiento. La muchedumbre con Jesús, Jesús entre la muchedumbre, Jesús viendo para acá y luego para allá. There's a lot of movement back and forth. The crowd's going with Jesus, Jesus moving out from the crowd, somebody touches him, and then it all stops, no? We have two healings here, no? You're aware of that. Son dos sanaciones que hace Jesús. La mujer que había sufrido por 14 años y también la hija del oficial de la sinagoga que le pidió una sanación. De hecho, la resucitó. So it's a pretty dramatic, and Mark knows this. Mark wants us to understand this. Y quisiera, en primer lugar, enfocarnos en el poder de Jesús, que es de un tipo muy particular, the particular kind of power that Jesus shows here. We could call it un poder vulnerable, a vulnerable power. And by that I mean, he doesn't show himself as someone who is going to do dramatic things and saying, everybody come and watch because I'm going to do dramatic things. I'm going to raise this little girl from the dead. I'm going to cure this woman. No. Jesus is amongst the people. And he is responding to them. In that sense, he's vulnerable, ¿no? Jesús se muestra vulnerable precisamente porque se presenta como accesible al llanto del pueblo, en particular a los que están buscando alguna sanación. That's why he's amongst the people, in some way that they might reach out to him, but once they reach out to him, he responds. In a certain way, it's good to notice that Jesus lets the crowd and lets the people in particular have a certain power over him. No porque las personas que le buscan, que están pidiendo algo, tienen cierto poder sobre él. Porque como que no puede rechazar la petición. It's like, it's not in the heart of Jesus to say, no, I haven't got time for you, or no, I'm not going to deal with that today. He responds. Now, he responds specifically in these cases to two people who asked him for something, one indirectly and one directly. La respuesta del Señor es precisamente respuesta a la petición. There were lots of people around Jesus when he was walking. No, la muchedumbre estaban pues apresurándolo, presionándolo, empujándolo. The gospel says they were pushing him, they were around him. You can almost imagine the crowd. They were going where he was, but he was probably being moved along, and he had to kind of direct where he wanted to go. He was going to Jairus' house to deal with the sickness of the daughter. But they're all around him. He doesn't let the crowd tell him where to go, but he does know that the crowd is around him, and in a certain sense, that's his vulnerability. El Señor es muy tocable. He's very touchable. But what stops him is that amongst all those people who were crowding around him, entre toda esa gente que estaba alrededor de él, solamente una persona lo tocó con fe. Only one person there really touched him. Everybody else was kind of, it's like being in a big city. You kind of have people moving around and bumping up against you. Of all the people that were pressuring him, that were touching him, that were up against him, and that's how people are. Only one really touched him. And she made her request not with a word, but because she took a chance to reach out and touch his cloak, if only. That was her movement of faith. Her faith moved with her hand when she touched his cloak. And he stops. Because the real reason he is amongst the crowd and the real reason he is amongst us is because he wants in some way us to reach to him. Esto es lo que quiere el Señor. entre toda esa gente, esta muchedumbre y este movimiento y todo, solamente una persona de veras lo tocó. Y por eso el Señor está entre nosotros. Que podamos nosotros nomás extender nuestro corazón, nuestra mano para tocarle al Señor. Porque el movimiento hacia el Señor es obra de fe. To move towards Him in any way is the movement of faith. That's why He says to her, "Woman, your faith has healed you." One of the things this tells us is that the crowd, we can be very close to Jesus and we can be in the crowd that's near to Him, but unless we reach to Him that way, we do not really touch Him. Que tocar a Jesús es movimiento del corazón. See, to touch Jesus is to move the heart. Her hand is a sign of that, but the movement really is inside. All those people jostling and moving, and which for us, especially in the world we live in, it makes us uncomfortable because we don't like crowds, do we? We really don't. And we just assume that they don't get, but Jesus was in the midst of it all. And He stopped. Who touched me? Some commentators said that He knew very well who touched Him. The gospel just simply says He asked the question. And it gave the woman a chance to go up and speak to Him. And this is what He wants. You see, we reach out a little bit in faith, and she realizes that He has given a gift. That's His vulnerable power. He makes His goodness, which is His power, available to us. He doesn't impose it on us. He makes it present for us. And His mere presence is an invitation to touch. Bueno, es que Dios se hizo uno de nosotros precisamente para poder ser tocable, ¿no? The vulnerability of God in Christ is exactly His we can reach Him. This is His vulnerability, because some will reach out to Him in faith, but later some will reach out to Him to push Him towards the cross. No, porque después otros lo van a empujar hacia la cruz, que es ser el Dios vulnerable en su poder. The power of Christ, the vulnerability of Christ. After the healing and after He assures this woman that her faith has saved her, then He moves on, and one of the things He has to suffer, I mean, in a certain way, He doesn't seem to have noticed it too much, but He certainly did, is that they laughed at Him when He came to that house. And that's a contrast to the woman, because they have no faith that He can do anything. Aquí no hay fe, porque en la casa de la criatura que estaba enferma, o ya muerta, pues se reíron, se burlaron de él. They made fun of Him. Nobody likes that. That's also His vulnerability. But He doesn't let that stop. The only people He takes into the room, the parents of the child, Peter, James, and John, are there. And He speaks to the little girl. She gets up. He raises her. The parents obviously had faith, because the father is the one who went and asked Him in the first place. ¿No? El papá tenía fe, por eso le pidió a Jesús a tomar el camino hacia su casa para tocar la niña. So it's a scene of where Jesus is touched again. You see, en esa casa también tocaron a Jesús, no como la mujer con la aflicción, sino con un llanto. It was a cry. This is the vulnerability of His power, because Jesus will never refuse a cry that comes to Him. when people will come to him like the Pharisees to ask him questions and to put him to the test, sometimes he doesn't answer them. Because he can tell the Pharisees, those who challenge him, those who are challenged by him, or those who are threatened by him, he can tell them, no. And just go on his way. But someone who comes to him in their own vulnerability and in their own weakness and in their own need, in their own sense that I can't do this, I need the help of this one, to those he will always respond. In that sense, it is our affliction, and we all have them. Nuestras aflicciones tienen poder sobre Jesús. Our afflictions have power over him because he chooses to let it. El Señor permite que nuestra aflicción tenga poder sobre él. No nos rechaza. This is part of the great mission of the incarnation, God becoming flesh. Why? So that we could, in a certain way, engage this unique vulnerability of the power of God, that God is shown most powerful precisely when he lets himself be touched by us. And he will go forth so many days walking. Why does he walk amongst the people? Precisely so that they can reach to him. This is for us then the great sign that if we approach the Lord with a certain amount of humility and a certain amount of recognition that there are things that only he can do, and that we go before him and we say, Lord, es que Señor, solamente tú no me puedes ayudar. Señor, ayúdanos porque nosotros no podemos. When we go to him that way, he will not refuse. This is the way of the Christ. Este es el modo, el camino del Cristo. Hacerse vulnerable. It will, of course, cost him. Do you remember in the Gospel, there's a little passage, it's one of the most popular, famous passages, when the Lord praises the widow's mite, ¿no? Cuando el Señor en un momento en el Evangelio, no me acuerdo en qué versículo, cuando la viuda pone su moneda en la colecta, ¿no? del templo. And Jesus praises her and says, she gave more than all the others because she gave all she had. Esa frase, ella dio más que todos los demás porque dio todo lo que tenía. ¿Qué es todo lo que tenía? Everything she had. This, I think, is relevant to us because he praises in her what he's all about. Because when Jesus comes to us in the flesh, when God comes to us in the flesh, he's not going to give us just something. He's going to give us all he has. Which is his life. Cuando el Señor, porque ella dio, no la ayuda, dio de todo lo que tenía. Así alaba el Señor a esta viuda porque ella vive como Él muestra. She lives as He shows. Porque el Señor nos da todo lo que tiene. We experience this most when we come to Mass. No, it's right in front of us y a veces ni nos damos cuenta que esto lo experimentamos nosotros cada vez que vamos para misa, porque las frases sencillas de la misa, esto es mi cuerpo, this is my body, which is given for you, this is all I have, it's my life. este es el cáliz de mi sangre, es mi vida, no tengo más, pero te lo doy. Este es el gran intercambio para nuestra salvación, ¿no? This is the great exchange. God makes himself vulnerable so he can give himself to us. And we are made strong in the Spirit by his gift. This is what St. Paul means. I want to just move this along here to the second reading, because this is a very important reading from 2 Corinthians when St. Paul speaks of this. When he says, "For you know that the Lord Jesus has been generous, for although he was rich, he made himself poor for us." ¿De qué dice? ¿Qué significa cuando San Pablo? Porque está hablando de la misma cosa. San Pablo está hablando del mismo misterio. El Dios Jesús, siendo rico, que se hizo pobre, vulnerable, accesible, y nos da todo. St. Paul speaks this way. He speaks this way a lot of times in the readings. This was from 2 Corinthians, that being rich, he made himself poor for us, that we might become rich by his poverty. Es una frase maravillosa. Y encapsula todo el misterio de la salvación. El Dios rico que se hizo pobre para que nosotros los pobres nos hiciéramos ricos a través de su pobreza. That's the whole thing. St. Paul speaks this way also in Philippians chapter 2. It's one of the most beautiful hymns en la Carta a los Filipenses, capítulo 2. You can look it up. Click it on Google, you'll find it, no? Second chapter of Philippians. Siendo Dios, se anonadó a sí mismo. Being God, he emptied himself. Se hizo pobre. ¿Qué es la pobreza de Jesús? What is the poverty of Christ? It's not primarily how much money he had. La pobreza de Cristo no es principalmente una cuestión de qué tanto dinero tenía en el banco. La pobreza de Jesús es hacerse uno de nosotros en nuestra pobreza, que es la vulnerabilidad. No, because our poverty is not primarily about money either. Our poverty is how vulnerable we are. Because why does anybody want money anyway, except that we can be secure? But we're all vulnerable. Siendo Dios, se despojó de su rango. He emptied himself. He took off his rank and accepted our condition, porque nuestra condición es la condición. La condición humana es condición pobre. The human condition, in all of its vulnerability, that's the poverty we fear. And that's the one he became. But that's the poverty we can touch and eat and drink. And by that we are made rich. ¿Qué es la riqueza que Jesús nos da? What is the richness? Just like in the gospel. Born to a new hope, born to a new life, born to a sense that there's a God who's close to us and who will do anything to save us. Anything. Si Cristo aceptó la muerte, ¿qué es lo que no va a hacer para salvarnos? There's nothing he will not do to save us. We are made rich, but also when we are generous in response. Y con esto, para nomás dejarlo así, ¿no? Que el Dios que nos hace ricos, es precisamente el Dios que pide la generosidad de Cristo, como la viuda en el templo. He asks of us to share in his generosity, to make ourselves a little poorer in the sense that we're available and and generous to one another. No, esto es lo que pide. Si yo, que soy maestro y señor, lavo tus pies, I, who am Lord and Master, who wash your feet, acuérdense de eso, ¿no? Ustedes hagan lo mismo. You do the same. So we should not be so preoccupied about so many things, when at the heart of our lives is the generosity of Christ who makes himself poor, that we might become rich and able to live in his generosity. And there are so many ways to do that. But basically it starts as people being available to the suffering of another. Nuestra capacidad de responder al sufrimiento de otro, de corazón, es la riqueza que Cristo quiere compartir con nosotros. That's the richness he wants to share with us. Maybe we should think about it, because it's not a richness that we might have expected. But that is what he's asking. As I have given, I ask you, he says to us, to give. That is the richness to which we are called in the grace of Christ. El Señor nos hace ricos precisamente en la generosidad que genera en nuestras vidas.